Hi, I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Well, it's 90 plus degrees outside, and I'm sitting in the workshop, the annex, and it's about that in here too. No air conditioning, and I don't have the ceiling fans done, and I don't have the wiring done. It's been kind of a busy week. But in the middle of all the things going on, I decided that I wanted to remember something that had happened to me. Let's see, long ago, more than 40 years, I worked at a place called Borg Warner. I've spoken about it before. It was a great place to work, loved it. Wonderful people. But there were a few notable instances, and one of them I promised to tell you about. If you watched the video about me and the sprinkler head, at the end I mentioned that I was going to tell you about the paint booth. Well, I was going through the old videos last night and realized that I should mention it. So, paint booth. Borg Warner made radiators. They made radiators for heavy vehicles, trucks, tractors, forklifts, locomotives, just all kinds of big, heavy equipment. And when you're painting radiators, especially automotive equipment, you use black paint, and it's heavy black paint. Well, the radiators were running down a conveyor line, and they went through all the test stations and the build stations and the wash lines, and then they came to the dry-off oven before the paint line, and they went through and they were heated up to about 120 degrees to dry off all the water. Large volume of air blowing through them, a lot of convection. Also just plain blew the water out of them. So they came out very nice and dry, and then they went into the paint booth and they were spray painted with this black paint. And the paint had a couple of characteristics that were unique. One, it dried almost the minute it touched. So if it didn't touch something, in just a few feet it was dry and wouldn't stick to anything. And the paint booth, the new paint booth had a water bath. There was a wall in the back, and it had a tank, and you put a solution in the bottom of the tank to make the paint stay floating. And water was pumped up and ran down this wall, so that any paint hitting the wall hit the water first and was washed down into the water, and you could clean the paint booth and just by dumping the tank. Well, that was the theory anyways. But somehow somebody decided that it was a good idea that when it came to the end of the day and they needed to clean out the paint gun, the best way to do it is just to spray it up into the paint booth. Well, that meant that it was too close, and it went over the top of the wall and down into the tank. But since it was close, it stuck to the wall. And it also stuck to the back wall, which didn't have water going down it. And we had run the booth probably a year, and somebody noticed that it wasn't having a good smooth flow of water over the wall anymore. So it was the job of the painter to clean the paint booth. And he was supposed to scrape it down and wash it every night and make sure everything was all clean and straight and square before he left for the day. They stopped painting before the end of the shift, so he had time to do it. Well, must be he thought it was more important to not clean the paint booth, so he wasn't doing it. And the paint had gotten up into the nozzles and clogged some of them, so the water flow wasn't coming out in an even flow. So my boss, who was the engineering manager, decided it was going to be our task to find out why it was not painting, why it wasn't working well, why it wasn't collecting the paint like it should. Well, that Saturday we went into work, Jerry Copeland and I, and we took off the wall of the paint booth, and it looked like a cave with stalagmites and stalactites, because the paint had stuck to the wall, and once the paint stuck to the wall and stopped the water flow, the water no longer protected it from the paint sticking. So the paint was now sticking to the wall, and it was built up that thick. And big stalagmites and stalactites hanging from the roof, and stalagmites on the floor, and the bottom of the tank was packed full of the stuff. So we started shoveling the stuff out and putting it into a dumpster. Well, some jobs are just dirty, they're dirty. And then there's the paint booth. We wore dust masks, paper kind that clip over your nose, like you see people walking around today to protect themselves from COVID and all the other horrible things that somebody's telling them is going to kill them. Well, those paint dust masks don't work. For one thing, they don't seal around your nose. I mean, they're better than nothing. And if the dust is large enough, like sawdust, most of it will be blocked. But when it's paint dust, aspirated paint comes out of a paint gun, very fine mist. It's submicron, it's small stuff. So it was hot because it's summertime. Of course, we always want to do the worst jobs in the summertime when it's hot. And I was sweating like a horse. And I had much more hair back then than I do now. And I had paint in my hair, had paint on my face, had paint on my clothes, wearing a t-shirt, my arms were covered with paint. And I knew I was just covered with a crack. But I thought, well, we'll get done with this job, and then I'll get cleaned up when I get home. Because Ward Warner didn't have showers. They had showers, but the room was packed full of cleaning equipment. Don't know why that happened, but the room was packed full of cleaning equipment, and I wasn't going to go in there and unload everything and take a shower because I didn't have any clean clothes. So I knew I could just drive home my old car and go in the house, take a shower, get cleaned up, change my clothes, and life would be good. Well, I got a phone call. Lydia called work and asked if I would come over to reading, because she was over at reading and visiting her mother, which was fine. It was Saturday. That was long before Ryan was born. And she had gone to a thrift store. I'm okay with thrift stores. And she found this lovely, lovely set of bedroom furniture. Bed, vanity, and a chest of drawers. Vanity had a big mirror. She thought that was just beautiful, wonderful stuff. And she could get it for very little money. Should throw up a red flag. And she said, Dave, can you come over? I forget, I didn't have a car then, I had a pickup truck. She said, Dave, can you come over with a truck and bring this home? I said, yeah, I got to go home and get cleaned up first. She said, no, he closes at 5, and you won't be able to get cleaned up and get over here in time before he closes. Well, then we'll get it another day. I'm filthy, and I'm trying to tell her that I'm really dirty. I need to go home and get cleaned up. Oh, please, please, come get it. Okay, fine. I don't care. I look like hell, but you're the one that's going to have to say, that guy there with the dirt all over him, that's my husband. So, I got done. I didn't even bother washing my hands. I went out, climbed in the truck, and drove over to reading. And I went to the little store in downtown Reading. Downtown Reading only had like 4 or 5 store buildings. And it was not the greatest store in the world. It was kind of dirty and kind of weird. I go in and look at this, and what it is, it's called a waterfall style of furniture. It was made up out of laminated wood, and the front had a curve that as you were standing in front of it, the curve came towards you. So the headboard and the footboard had a curve, both of them. One went one way and one went the other. The vanity had a waterfall effect on both sides and the front. And same thing with the chest of drawers. It was hideous. It was ugly. It was the worst piece of furniture I've ever seen in my life. But she'd already paid the guy $50 for it. Now, $50 in 1970, let's see, that would have been 1977, was a chunk of money. So, it's not something that I thought was a great idea, but I threw it in the back of the truck and I drove home with it. Now it had missing pieces of laminate. They call it veneer. It's basically plywood. Had a layer of veneer over the top of it. And it had been made in Grand Rapids. That was one of the selling points. You know, it's been made in Grand Rapids. Well, Grand Rapids was known for its furniture building, but it also had a lot of places that made just crap furniture. And this was one of the crap pieces. Get back to the dust mask. The reason that I don't like dust masks, and I don't believe that they work, is I've worn them a number of years. I wear them now. I wear respirators. I seldom wear a dust mask because dust masks don't seal. When they go up against your face, they have to seal completely against the skin. And that paper dust mask doesn't. Even if you hold your hand up and press on it, it doesn't form up against your nose tight enough. Now, when I came out of the paint booth, I had a rather large area here that wasn't quite as covered with paint, but I had 2 black streaks, one down either side of my nose going into my mouth. Because I was breathing, working hard, and the air leaked around the filter, went down both sides of my nose, and I was coughing up black stuff and spitting it out. Not while I was wearing a mask, of course, because you can't spit while you're wearing a mask. Besides that, if I spit anywhere in the paint booth, I was going to have to clean that up, so I just didn't do it. But all the rest of the way home, I was spitting out the window, black crap, black crap, black crap, all over the place. That night I was spitting black crap. We had that furniture for about a year. And I was tempted many times to just take it out in the backyard and set it on fire. But I didn't have any place to burn anything. We lived on Central Park Drive in Coldwater at the time. Young love. Now I would just say, well, you lost $50, I'm not taking it home. Not going to happen. This is ugly. Tell the guy you want your $50 back. We're not buying this thing. Also, I'm pretty sure if she hadn't had her mother with her, she wouldn't have been compelled to buy it against her mother's wishes, which I found out later. Her mother said, don't buy this, it's not any good. So that's why she bought it. And the more I said I don't like it, the more it was important to keep it. life's just funny that way. So now when they tell you, oh, election's coming, you're going to have to wear your mask again, and I bet you need to have, what is it? It's 10 now, 10 different versions of the immunization for COVID. Yeah, they call it immunization, but it's not. It's a lessening, and it's really just a way to sell some crap that really doesn't work. But they're going to come out and say, oh, yeah, COVID is terrible. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. If it's not COVID, it's going to be black lung disease or chicken pox. Who knows? Once somebody comes up with an idea, they like to stick with it, I think. So in any case, that's the story of the paint booth. We got it cleaned up, it worked fine, and I made sure the painter cleaned. And if he didn't, I talked to him because I wasn't going to do that again. He got paid to paint and clean up. I got paid to fix equipment. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Oh, and wouldn't you know, here we are in the hottest day of the summer, and the air conditioner went out last night. This is my fault too. We fell for a deal that Consumers was offering. You could get an $8 a month discount on your bill if you let them put a piece of equipment on your air conditioner that shut off the air conditioner. Now, why would you do that? Well, because, you know, they were trying to conserve energy and prevent CO2 killing us all and saving the earth and blah, blah, blah. More BS. But I had a person who thought it was a wonderful idea, and that, oh, we could save $8, and they said they won't shut it off for very long. Well, the air conditioning on the house has been shut off now for 4 days. Yeah. Now, originally the information they sent us said it'll only happen rarely. And when it does, it won't happen much more than 4 hours at a time. And if you want to, you can opt out. You can say, no, don't shut my air conditioning off. 1 day a year. I bought the air conditioner. I set it up, I put it on my house, I made it work, paid for it, I paid to have it serviced, and when they shut off the air conditioner this time, now it won't come back on. It's running. I don't have any way of getting a hold of Consumers to find out what's going on because, you know, you got a website. Nobody answers. You don't get anything other than, well, these are our PDFs that you can read. And it says, shouldn't be more than 4 hours. Doesn't say won't be. It says, we'll only do this in emergencies. Well, who decides what the emergency is? Same jokers that said COVID was going to kill me. And who gets the benefit of it? Well, I get $8 off on my bill. My bill is about $150 a month for electricity. Now, why is that? Well, because they're having to redo a lot of their equipment. You know, they're putting in windmills and they're putting in solar panels that are going to save the planet because they don't emit any CO2 except during the manufacture and emplacement and all the time that they spend fixing and trying to make them work. And that's only for the times that the sun is out or the wind is blowing. So they have to, because these are unreliable and intermittent sources of power, they have to be able to shut off power to keep things running. Otherwise, there'll be brownouts. Wonderful, brownouts. What do I worry about a brownout for? I'm paying you for electricity. You're supposed to provide electricity. You're supposed to keep it coming all the time. That is the implicit part of the deal. I buy electricity from you. I let you hook up my house to it. I pay you a monthly stipend just to have a meter on my house. I pay service calls if there's anything wrong with my house wiring. I pay service calls if there's anything wrong with my air conditioner. So I have an air conditioner tech coming tomorrow morning for $129 for the visit, plus whatever he has to charge me for additional materials like Freon or anything else. And if I find that I can't get a hold of consumers, and they have been shutting this off, and I'm paying somebody to come tell me, oh, they just shut it off, it'll be a cold day in hell before they get another dollar worth of energy savings from me by shutting my air conditioning off. So, that's my rant for today. It's kind of hot out here in the shop, but not terrible. You guys have a good weekend, and I will talk to you later.